Okay, it's 5 minutes past. I think we should start. Yeah, we welcome everybody to this Reveal Insight investor presentation. The way we want to do this is basically we give a short talk, and in addition for this, I'm going to briefly show you some of the highlights of the live system as it is in production right now. If you have any questions, there will be a Q&A session at the end, but also you can chat questions you have in the chat. So without further ado, I am handing over to my colleague Ellen to start giving us a brief introduction what Reveal Insight is all about.
Thank you, Andreas. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Alan Scott, an advisor and early stage investor in Reveal. I would like to start by asking you a question. Would you have welcomed the opportunity to be an early stage investor in Amazon or AirBnB? Because we believe we are the equivalent business idea for the 84 trillion institutional investment industry. Airbnb are the largest hotel but don't own a single room. Amazon, the largest global retailer, but don't own a single shop. Reveal intends to be one of the largest asset managers, but have no assets under direct management. We're a platform. We connect institutional investors to asset managers quickly, easily, and efficiently. I'll now hand over to Savannah, who will introduce you to the rest of the team and your speakers today.
So hello, everyone. I would like to introduce you to our speakers today. I'll begin with founder Edward Vickery. He built his own third-party company in California under the regulatory umbrella of a New York-based broker-dealer. He has over the 10 years, he has successfully raised millions for various alternative investment fund managers. However, he has endured many inefficiencies, lost many deals, and worked with many problematic managers, which hurt both his investors and his business. These setbacks led him to conceive the idea which brings us together today. Then we have founder Andreas Mueller, who has worked in technology consulting for over 20 years at companies such as Accenture, UBS, and Capco. He has already built the Reveal Insight platform and will continue to develop it, as well as ensure the financial planning for the business in which you are considering an investment remains on track. We also have advisor and investor Alan Scott, whom you heard speak a moment ago. He owns a number of successful financial and tech businesses, and he's an experienced business leader and entrepreneur. So as you can see, the team has already grown significantly since the launch in late summer this year. I am one of the account managers in the sales team and have seen firsthand the excitement in the market for our product. So I'm going to hand it over to Edward Vickery right now, our business visionary.
Thank you, Savannah. So let's move to slide 4. Okay, we're on slide 4 already, I think. What we have, ladies and gentlemen, is the biggest opportunity that I have uncovered during my entire career. This is an $84 trillion industry which has failed to modernize and continues to operate using archaic practices, while many other industries have applied technology to assist the client in accessing and choosing non-branded vendors. Airbnb, Amazon, and TripAdvisor are good examples of this, redistributing market share away from the brands to the small vendors in the accommodation, high street shopping, and restaurant sectors. They have earned a fortune for themselves and their investors by achieving this. 90% of the assets in our industry are under the management of something like the top 20 brands: BlackRock, Bridgewater, PIMCO, Oaktree, etc. We estimate that there are around 50,000 asset managers across the private equity, real estate, long-only, and hedge fund asset classes. Therefore, the other 49,980 managers desperately require a solution to disrupt this consolidated market. Small and mid-sized asset managers offer a number of advantages to investors. They tend to outperform, charge lower fees, and have lower minimum investment thresholds. Yet they fail to attract assets, mainly because brands dominate as the safe haven. It is easy to identify the brands. There is little need to research and spend years getting comfortable with the brands, and investors know what type of professional service they will get from these large corporations. But what if you could get the performance of an emerging manager with the safety of BlackRock? Slide 5, why now? Due to the pandemic, asset managers cannot spend their marketing budget on road trips and conferences. They require an alternative which provides us with an opportunity to change their method of raising assets. Our industry has finally begun to digitalize. It has become standard practice to carry out Zoom video meetings like we're doing now and work remotely. It should have happened 10 years ago. I for sure would have less wrinkles. Yet the financial sector has always been conservative and lacked creativity. For those many financial professionals who benefit from their Swiss banking family name or Goldman Sachs being on their CV, it has not been in their interest to change the system. However, behavior is changing, and now is the time to take advantage of it. Slide 6, idea and plan. At Reveal Insight, we have built a platform which allows investors to efficiently select asset managers, as well as provide them with accountability and verification to protect their interests. This introduces meritocracy to an industry which has traditionally relied on relationships and brands. We apply data and technology to save time for all market participants, making investing safer and brokering more deals faster. Slide 7, the problems for the asset managers. Performance alone is insufficient to attract investors. If the performance is too good to be true, well, it often is. And if it is generated from taking too much risk, then it is worthless anyway. If the performance is average or poor, it also does not sell easily. The understanding of the strategy and trust in the team is crucial and is also needed to raise assets. But this is very difficult to convey. AUM is a big part of that, but managers can't raise assets without already having assets. Slide 8, problems for institutional investors and high net worth investors. If an investor chooses to allocate to a non-branded manager, the onus is on the investor to identify which of the 49,980 non-branded managers is the correct fit for them. The onus is on the investor to carry out the research on the asset managers and spend time getting comfortable with their personnel. The onus is on the investor to verify the authenticity of the manager's documents and seriousness of their professional setup. Given that size of the market, investors tend to rely on introductions rather than wading through 49,980 company presentations. Relying on referrals is a bad idea. Traders don't invest with their emotions, so why are investors allocating with their emotions? Shared commonalities, alumni and religions, and chance meetings at the conference bar create selection bias. Furthermore, the interests of third-party marketers like myself, my previous business, my pre-existing business, and investor relations personnel are misaligned with investors. I know this from my own background as a third-party marketer. I felt incentivized to sell managers with lengthy lockups, high fees, and strategies that were perhaps taking too much risk because it would maximize my revenue, despite this being at the expense of the investor. If you're planning a holiday in the south of France and you ask some friends for referrals, are they referring you the bed and breakfast which is best for you, or the bed and breakfast which is run by their cousin? With Airbnb, you avoid that dilemma. With Airbnb, you also do not need to telephone a number of bed and breakfast options and ask each one of them the same questions about the distance from the airport and whether or not they have a bath or a shower. Sound familiar? Because this is like the alternative assets industry in the process of selecting managers. Reveal Insight fixes these problems for investors trying to navigate the boutique asset manager universe. Slide 9, problems for intermediaries. Well, this is where the wrinkles come from, because I've been an intermediary for many years. Intermediaries are in a weak position. They must do both the work of the investor, sourcing the best asset managers, and the work of the managers selling to the investors. So it's extremely labor intensive. They are also in a weak position in regards to collecting payment, as without a tangible product which controls the deal process, they can easily be circumvented, and they have little means to track the deal progress, commissions owed, and they have little means to prove that they are owed the money. Also, our brains are far inferior at matchmaking than the power, which is what a broker does, matchmaking, right? Than the power of a computer algorithm. Slide 10, solutions. How useful would it be for an asset manager to arrive at his desk on a Monday morning with 4 or 5 new video calls already scheduled in his calendar for the upcoming week with pre-qualified, suitable, and seriously interested investors who already feel comfortable enough to allocate? We are building a calendar syncing and video call facility on our platform so that investors can reverse solicit meetings with the most suitable managers that we also help them to identify. How useful would it be for investors to condense a 3-year research and relationship building process into just a few clicks? We summarize the quantitative and qualitative information that it usually takes investors years to collect onto a single page. By applying levels of verification to the managers, we instill trust in the investor. By collecting ratings from current and ex-investors, we introduce accountability to protect the interests of the investors themselves. By applying matchmaking algorithms, we speed up the process of identifying the most suitable asset managers. We take the burden of identifying, researching, and building trust away from the investor to make it easier for the investment community to allocate to non-branded managers. How useful would it be for intermediaries to be able to broker deals while sleeping and track deal progress and commissions owed while being able to identify and raise capital for only the most honest and professional asset managers? This is an automated broker system. We have incentivized each user type on Reveal Insight to invite other user types to the platform. We incentivize investors to provide ratings as it allows them free access to the full rankings and ratings on the platform. It keeps their identity anonymous while also hiding their contact details, unlike when providing traditional investor references, when anybody can then pass on their contact details to other marketers and salespeople. Likewise, asset managers are similarly motivated to invite their service providers to verify them in order to attract more investor interest. Indeed, How useful would it be to everybody to spend less time lost in this labyrinth of lunacy and more time enjoying life? Slide 11. Nobody else is doing this. There are many platforms providing simple Internet 1.0 information on asset managers. There is nobody providing qualitative investor feedback and proactively brokering deals, which is exactly what Airbnb and Amazon and Alibaba and TripAdvisor do in their industries. Managers visit Preqin and Brighton House Associates to find simple information and contact details on investors. Investors visit Barclay Hedge, Morningstar, Bloomberg, and Eureka Hedge to find performance data on asset managers. We bring the two groups together to a single reputational marketplace. Slide 12, how do we earn money? Investment consultants such as Towers Watson and Wilshire Associates, Cambridge Associates, charge institutional investors a lot for single data point subjective information obtained from interviewing the managers themselves. They charge millions of dollars for this. Our mission is to offer the investment community superior information for free. And by doing this, we can attract the investors and by attracting these investors with statistically significant objective data from real investors, because investment consultants are not real investors, they're just advisors, we have the opportunity to earn handsomely from the managers receiving these capital inflows via our platform. We have developed a freemium pricing model to attract users and populate our platform quickly, while also generating early stage revenue prior to the larger commission flows, which will take some time, even though we're trying to speed up this process by automating it, arriving at a later date. Now, I will hand you over to Andreas, who will explain the financial projections and show you a short demo of the product. Please listen attentively because his Teutonic Knight accent can be tricky to follow.
Hi guys, hi again. Yeah, I'm from Germany, and I want to show you now a few calculations we did around projections, first for the growth, and then for the revenue, and then I show you the system a little bit. So if you look at this slide, growth, you will see the various phases that we have defined for this project. We're already in the second phase. So we started with what you see on the upper left-hand side, bootstrapping phase. We developed an MVP. We worked on the initial services and pricing model, defined the customer value propositions, managed to get a first paying customer for one of our services. And we tested this with a couple of asset managers, investors, and so forth. And right now, we are in a phase that I call scale-up preparation. In other words, we're getting ready for next year. And getting ready means we are hiring the first members of the sales team, first marketing, and we're doing some operational refinements that enable us to work as a somewhat larger company, because next year is actually the year when we will become profitable according to our worst case, medium, and best case calculation that I've given here in terms of numbers of users. For example, the bar chart on the top is for the number of asset managers that we would have on board by the end of next year. And far on the right, we did these calculations all the way up to 2025, where you can also see the numbers of asset managers that we're estimating to have on board. The target group of asset managers that we have, incidentally, for our product, the emerging, relatively small, yet very good asset managers, we estimate to be around 50,000 in the world. That's our target market. And if we look On to the next slide, some revenue projections. Again, I start with scale up to profitability. Again, the same calculations, worst case, medium, and best case. And you see that even in the worst case, we would have a quarterly revenue end of next year of 320,000, medium case and best case accordingly better. And again, all the way up to 2025, you can see that's an annual revenue there. It's going to be 64 million in the average estimation that we did. And what that concretely means is that in order to cover the next year, when we will go profitable, we need a certain amount of funding. And the calculations you see at the bottom are based on 500,000 funding, which can be from corporations, a minimum of 50,000, from private individuals, a minimum of 10,000. Now, what that means, of course, is that if you look at, okay, I'm investing, well, 100,000, what would that be worth at the end of 2025? And you can see that even in the worst case, it would be worth 2 million, right? 2 million, 6 million, 20 million is what you would get out according to our calculations. On this slide, costs, I'm giving a little overview of what we will spend the invested money for. It's largely on accelerating our growth, improving the functionality of the platform, certain features that are going to be built, and of course improving the effectiveness of the sales team by increasing the sales team. And on the right, you can see again the calculations for the next 2 years. I'm giving the revenue, the total costs, and this is the worst case scenario. Actually, there's even some safety catch that we're assuming that payment comes late and things like this, just to make sure that we really hit that moment in time when we become profitable. Okay, now please give me 10 seconds and I get ready to show you the actual live system. Just need to quickly check something here. An intermission. I forgot something in the preparation, so I'm doing it now. Okay, cool. I'm sharing my screen again. Okay, look here. This is when somebody just comes to our live system as it is right now, not even logged in or anything. I'm just looking at it and I see, well, we have various user groups. And let's take a look at what happens when I press for asset managers. One of the very first things the asset managers can do with us is, of course, add their own company profile. In other words, I will show you later what data we need. The data is optimized so that investors can find them easily. Or, of course, you can go ahead and say, well, first I want to see what other asset managers are on that platform. And when you do this, you are brought to a search page. You can search by name, you can search by various dimensions. It starts simple, you can look at the rating. But it is optimized towards what are investors genuinely looking for. How most efficiently can they find the investment opportunities they want to have? And that is shown here. So if you click on the detail, you are brought to the company profile, and that looks like that. So in other words, on the top you have what are the ratings that we talked about, ratings from real investors. What are the verifications that we have done that comes on different levels, 1 to 5. And you can see the key facts of the company. You can see a breakdown of the ratings by the individual questions that we ask. investors are asked 10 questions, and for each question they give points from 1 to 10, so that the total would add up to 100%. The idea. You can see if people have given a comment while they rated, what are these comments? You can see information about the team. You can see key presentations, documents, performance document that they uploaded. They will have one or more funds, of course, and you can see a pretty detailed information about fund data. Once again, this is optimized so that it's easy for the investors to find what they're looking for. And of course, the investors can also go ahead and save their searches, and then they will get informed automatically. For example, if a new asset manager comes on board that fulfills their search criteria. You can certainly ask your clients to give you a rating. Everybody can give a rating, but it's going to start with the asset managers asking their existing clients, and they get sent a link. When the investors click on that link, they see something like this. In other words, the same profile, but on top it has a big button that says enter your rating. You can click this. You can go ahead, give a few answers. It's very quick, and won't save it now. And when you save this, it will be evaluated internally. Eventually, we will release it, and it will be added up to the score. Okay, and now just to wrap this up very quickly, I'm going to hand over back to Ellen, and then we start the QA session.
Thank you, Andreas. I trust now your understanding of the why, the how, and what we do has increased significantly. We are a B2B marketplace in a specialized segment of institutional investment. We add value and efficiencies to the 84 trillion that flows between these two communities. However, I'm sure you have many questions or would just simply like to understand more about how this business scales and why it will generate significant revenue. I'll hand over to our founder and business visionary, Edward Vickery, who will field any questions. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Alan. I did notice, Andreas, when you were clicking through the platform, you clicked on the asset managers, view them, and it didn't seem to go through to that. Did you click twice or just once? Or? I just noticed that.
You didn't see the asset managers or what?
It doesn't matter, but I just noticed that. I should probably shut up and let everybody talk. Are there any questions from anybody? I was just criticizing your German efficiency, that's all. Any chance I get.
Well, first of all, I think very credit here. So my background is finance as well, so I'm very close to this topic as well. With regards to your go-to-market strategy, what are you intending? Like, contacting them individually using like existing forums, or how do you attract them? Because personally, I think it's an amazing, it's an amazing, opportunity and an amazing market that you're looking into. And of course, we need to run the numbers because I think I have one of the funds that might be really interested in that particular part. But I'm just interested, like, how do you want to get it started, right? I mean, you said you already have like the first subscribers, if I remember correctly. But how do you get it rolling?
That's a great question, Patrick. And yes, we do. We launched this in mid-August with 6 salespeople, and one of them is on the call, Savannah, and we can actually, it's good to question Savannah about this a little bit, about how it's worked and her experience so far. But I'll explain what we're doing. We're using some various marketing tools which basically reach out en masse to thousands of asset managers, and we're getting very, very positive replies and interest because we're offering them even in my old business, which I did for 10 years, which is the traditional third-party marketing where you just speak on the phone and go to conferences, try to get to know people and get them to do business with you, which is really a slow and inefficient way of doing business. Who's the most popular, right? Anyway, so even in that business, if I would approach people randomly at conferences or LinkedIn and say, look, I'll bring you some investors, the uptake was quite positive. I would probably get 3 out of 10 guys I would speak to would pay me a retainer to go and find them investors because they need them so badly. It's such a big problem for them. They cannot find investors easily. It's so difficult to raise money. And we've got a tangible product which improves that capital raising process, and they can see it, right? So they take a look at it, and you know, it's not difficult to get the asset managers involved. And then we designed this in a way, we've got hundreds of managers that have already signed up. And I think Andreas has got a chart somewhere because he's monitoring it, because it's the platform, right? Which he can share with you after the call. And so it's not so difficult. Savannah, what's your experience? How do you feel for each time I send you a lead? Because I'm distributing the leads to the salespeople. And how are you feeling that, I mean, it takes time, right? It's taking them time to check out the demo and to, what's your general experience?
Yeah, but in general, they are really interested because we're offering a solution, especially now with COVID and the whole situation, economic situation. People aren't able to go from one place to another and do those conferences in person. So this is a solution for right now, and it's digitalizing the industry. So it's really relevant, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have had a few people who've said to me, thank you. I have had a few people who've said to me, oh, I don't have time for this. I'm so busy. And I said, oh, that's exactly what we're trying to help you with, right? We're trying to save time for you and make it easier to raise assets. And anybody who's tried to raise assets in the private fund management business, well, it's not a weekly or a monthly sales cycle. It's an annual. How many years is it going to take to get the client in sales cycle? And we're, a big part of that is shortening this, making it easier for the buyer.
Yeah.
And
maybe a follow-up question to that. I think there's an echo. Maybe follow-up question to that one was, I was thinking, like, when I saw your platform, right, you're connecting one party with the other party. Have you thought through the cross-selling opportunities, to have concrete deals on the platform that is, for instance, multi-party and this kind of stuff? Because
there is one
can be reminded in the first place, because once you have everyone on the platform, I think there's a lot of opportunity for for the cross-selling part, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure that we haven't identified them all yet, but there is one that I identified quite earlier on, because it was happening 2 or 3 times, that managers that were in the early stage of their development, we're asking them to put their audit on. We didn't really show that much about the verification process in the demo, but we're verifying the managers by getting the managers to invite their service providers to confirm and upload their version of the audit, for example, with the auditor, or the legal counsel confirm that there are no pending cases against them, right? When you ask a manager directly, they can quite easily lie to you, and they do. They've done that to me for many years over the last 10 years. But when you get their legal counsel to put their brand's reputation on the line, they don't, right? So we get the managers to invite their clients to the platform. Everything's done in this way so it can go viral. They invite their service providers to the platform to verify that there really are no pending cases again, and they log in with their corporate email address, KPMG, BDO. The auditors can log in with their corporate email address, which we can verify, the IP address and the corporate email. And then they upload their version of the audit, which should match the version of the audit of the manager. So we're doing some basic verification that nobody else does, because most investors just say, send me your audit, they send a PDF, and they take it on a handshake. Oh, okay, I believe it, you sent me a PDF. Now, PDFs can be manipulated, right? So anyway, when we ask the managers to verify themselves, often they don't have all the service providers that they should have. And they say, oh, we don't actually have an administrator yet. Do you know a good administrator? And so that's a cross-selling point, because we can refer service providers to the managers and take a fee share on that too. But I'm sure there are many other, once you've got a tangible product, and other opportunities can come out of that.
Yeah, yes, Patrick, just to add to that, we don't want to get distracted early on and try and second guess a lot of those opportunities as well. We've all thought about them. and thought of adding lots of things. But the core mission now is to get the asset managers and the investors attracted to the site, using the site, and then, yes, I think that's sort of a Series A type stage later on, where we'll now go with, okay, here's a trading screen, here's other things that you can cross sell, and we'll worry more about, if you like, the other monetization issues later on. But yeah, we all get, our minds get blown with the idea of, once you have these groups interacting with each other, spending time there are lots of things that you could put in front of them that we could clip the ticket for.
Now we're going to do 2 more of these webinars, tomorrow and the following day, for the Europe region and the Americas region. So if you have any investor friends in those regions, please do invite them. We're also considering somehow connecting you all so you can discuss it privately without us at a later date. That's an idea that we have, which sometimes I think investors can find useful.
Hi, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
I don't know if I'm sorry, I can't put behind me is a building site because I'm having some work done, so I don't want to go there.
That's okay.
I think this is an excellent idea. You mentioned the consultants, or people like Mercer and St James's Place, who are earning big fees and doing things in the traditional way, I guess, because I've dealt with them in the past. But I'm wondering, if this takes off, isn't this the sort of thing they could compete against quite easily?
Is it the sort of thing that you can repeat again? I couldn't.
People like Mercer or St James's Place could set up something similar and compete against you quite easily if it becomes popular.
Well, anybody could set up an Airbnb or set up an Amazon, right? But the thing is, once you've got most of the market coming to you, it's not an easy thing to do, right? Because it's not an easy thing to, you have to balance it. You have to get enough product and enough investors. It's not just as simple as a standard business where you're just searching for one type of client. You actually have to have the buyers and the sellers, because you're building a marketplace. And I would say someone like St. James's, to ask you, because I know St. James's, that they are, it's a conflict of interest for them, because they are an investor themselves, because they're a wealth manager, they're in the industry. So I wouldn't say that they could do it easily. We're neutral, and our background is as brokers. And I'll add one thing that's not mentioned in the presentation, and that is that, you know, I've been on the calls with many of the sales team, you know, not all the calls, because I can't, my capacity is not there, because we have had so many calls in the last 2 months. Yeah, I probably look quite tired. And I've been on these calls, and so one of the managers said to me recently, I love it, I want to pay you 50%. And I said, I just explained to him, so I am not explaining this well to you, because I've explained to him before how the way in which the industry works. I don't like the way that the industry works, because brokers will sell what pays them the most, which is undermining their integrity as salespeople, right? I said, we're building a system where there's a flat fee, 18% for everybody. The only way you pay less is if you pay for the premium services. That's to induce people to pay the premium services. We get capital up front sooner. Probably we lose out on that financially by losing 3% sooner. Sorry, later on when we broker the deals, but we're getting the premium services sooner. I said to him this about the 18%, and then at the end of the call, he was saying, I want to give you 50%. And I was like laughing. You don't understand. What we're trying to do is to be impartial. If we're impartial, we don't care who buys what. Airbnb do not care which property you buy, but pretty much every broker in the financial industry, he cares which product you buy, because he's only got a handful, 5 or 20 fund managers that he's selling. And so he's pushing something which might not even be in your best interest. And this is critical to the success of Amazon and Airbnb. They're neutral, they're agnostic. And if you're in a competing firm that already exists, you're not neutral, you're not agnostic. You're going to promote your own funds, right? And that's something that will prevent, I think, a lot of the market participants from doing this. I do think there are other platforms out there that could try to copy and emulate us. So it is a bit of a race. But they have, I mean, I'm quite amazed that none of the other platforms have even come close to what we're doing. We've got 3 unique selling propositions, 3 USPs, and they're identified in the presentation. The verification, I don't like to repeat it, but the verification, the ratings, and the matchmaking. And we've looked at all the competitors, and most of them aren't even doing one of them. So for them to do all 3 is unless they can really figure out what we're doing and build something quickly, I think we've got quite a fair head start on. So Alan, you wanted to say something?
Darren, just to add to that, it's a good question. This really is the reason we're raising the money, because this is a network business. Once we get the network to a certain level, which we feel is at the end of this raise, what the money is being used for, then we'll have that network effect, that Airbnb. So we're in that position now where we've got the system working. We've got customer feedback. We're getting people on board. We really want to ramp that up, because that is once you have that core group there, then you have your moat, your protection against competitors copying you. As Edward said, anyone could do an Airbnb, but it's impossible because they're already there. So we're in that same race, and hence really the reason for raising money, rather than just, muscling along the way we are today.
And unless there are any other questions, probably we can wrap this up. I think it's been a good first call. And we've got 2 more, as I said, later in the week. Thank you, everybody. There are no more questions, I imagine, right? Feel free to have one more question. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Thank you for the great demo, Andreas. Thank you, everybody else. Take care.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you. Bye. Good one.
Bye.